you've done everything right. You meditated. You surrendered. You let go of the old patterns, the old self, the old stories that kept you small. You awakened, and now, nothing. No fire, no passion, no drive to chase anything anymore. You sit there, looking at your life, and you feel empty. Not sad, exactly. Not depressed. Just neutral. Like someone unplugged you from the world. Your friends don't understand. They tell you to set goals, make a vision board, get excited about something. But you can't. It feels fake. It feels pointless. And here's the strange part. You're not sure if this is freedom or failure. Because spiritual awakening was supposed to be the answer, wasn't it? The thing that would finally make you whole. But instead, you feel like you're floating in space with no gravity, no direction, no reason to move at all. So what happened? Why does enlightenment feel like emptiness? Why does awakening feel like nothing? The answer isn't what you think, and it's not what anyone's been telling you. Because what you're experiencing right now isn't a mistake. It's not a sign you did something wrong. It's not depression or spiritual bypassing or a lack of discipline. It's something much deeper. And once you understand it, everything changes. Let me paint you a picture. You wake up in the morning, the alarm goes off, you turn it off, you lie there, and you ask yourself, what's the point? Not in a depressed way, not in a hopeless way, just genuinely. What is the point of getting up, of chasing goals, of building things, of wanting more? You used to want things. Oh, you wanted things. Success, love, recognition, security. You pushed, you strived, you ran yourself ragged trying to become someone. But then you woke up. You saw through the game. You realized that everything you were chasing was just ego, just stories, just conditioning, just the mind trying to feel whole by accumulating pieces of the world. And so you let it go. You released the need. You stopped grasping. And now, silence. You scroll through your phone. Everyone's hustling. Everyone's manifesting. Everyone's got their next big thing lined up. And you feel detached, like you're watching it all from behind glass. Your family asks, "What are your plans?" And you shrug, because you don't have any. Not real ones, not ones that light you up inside. Your old goals feel hollow. Your old dreams feel like someone else's. And the new ones, they haven't arrived yet, or maybe they never will. So you sit, you watch, you breathe, and you wonder if this is what it means to be free, or if you've just become a ghost in your own life. The world keeps moving, but you're standing still, and the worst part, you're not even sure you care. Is this enlightenment? Or is this just giving up? Here's what no one tells you about spiritual awakening. It doesn't just change what you see, it changes who sees. You used to want things, that you are gone, or at least it's not running the show anymore. And the new you, the awakened you, the witness, the awareness doesn't want anything, because it already is everything. Let me say that again. The part of you that awakened doesn't need motivation, because it has no sense of lack. Motivation is desire, and desire is born from a feeling of incompleteness. You want something because you believe it will make you whole. You chase because you feel empty. You hustle because you think the finish line will finally let you rest. But awakening shows you the truth. You were never incomplete. You were never broken. There was never anything to fix. And so the engine that used to drive your life, the engine of becoming just, stops. Not because you're lazy, not because you're lost, but because the illusion that fueled it has dissolved. Think of it like this. Imagine you've been running toward a door your entire life. Everyone told you that behind that door was happiness, peace, freedom. So you ran, you trained, you sacrificed. You pushed through pain. And finally, after years of effort, you reached it, you opened it. And on the other side, nothing. No grand reward, no finish line, just the same room you've always been in. At first you're confused, then angry, then still, because you realize the door was never real, the chase was never real. The room you've been searching for, you've been standing in it the whole time. And now, there's nowhere to run, nothing to chase, no reason to move. This is what spiritual teachers call the gateless gate. The moment you realize there's nothing to attain, because you are already it. But here's the tricky part. Your mind doesn't know what to do with that. Your ego doesn't know how to operate without a mission. Your body still has conditioning. Your nervous system still has patterns. So you're caught between two worlds. The old you is dissolving. The new you hasn't fully landed. And in that in-between space, you feel nothing. And that's nothing? It terrifies you because you've been conditioned your entire life to believe that wanting is what makes you alive. But what if that's not true? What if the deepest aliveness isn't in wanting, but in being? Let's go deeper, because this isn't just about motivation. It's about identity. It's about who you think you are. For most of your life, you were the character in the movie, the hero of your own story, the one trying to win, to survive, to matter. You were the achiever, the dreamer, the seeker, the one who wanted more, who needed to prove something, who believed that if you just did enough, became enough, earned enough, you'd finally feel okay. But awakening pulls the camera back, and suddenly, you're not the character anymore. You're the screen, the awareness, the space in which the movie plays. And the screen doesn't want anything. It doesn't need the movie to go a certain way. It doesn't care if the character wins or loses, because the screen is untouched by it all. This is the paradox of awakening. You're still here, your body is still here, your personality is still here, but the center of gravity has shifted. The you that used to drive everything has become optional. And that's deeply disorienting. Because now, when you think about goals, about purpose, about what you should do with your life, you realize there's no you to do it for. There's no one to impress, no one to become, no future self to reach. You're already whole, already complete, already home. So why move? Why do anything? This is what the mystics call the dark night of the soul. But it's not darkness in the way you think. It's not pain. It's not suffering. It's transparency. It's the dissolving of the false self, the death of the ego's agenda. And yes, it feels like nothing. Because nothing is what's left when everything false falls away. But here's what you need to understand. This nothing isn't emptiness. It's open. It's not the absence of life. It's the presence of life without the filter of me. When you were seeking, you were living through a lens. The lens of lack. The lens of not enoughness. The lens of, I need to become someone else to be okay. But now, the lens is gone. And you're seeing reality as it is. Raw, unfiltered, immediate. And in that rawness, there's no motivation. Because motivation requires separation. It requires a gap between here and there, between who you are and who you want to be. But awakening collapses that gap. It shows you are already there. You've always been there. There was never anywhere to go. And so the mind goes quiet. The striving stops. The urgency dissolves. And you're left with presence. Just this. Just now. Just breathing. And the mind says, this can't be it. This is too simple, too ordinary, too nothing. But that's the point. Because the deepest truth is always the simplest. It's not flashy. It's not exciting. It's not dramatic. It's just being. And being doesn't need motivation. It doesn't need a reason. It doesn't need permission. It just is. You are not broken. You are not stuck. You are not failing at awakening. You're simply discovering what it's like to live without a story, without a mission, without the constant need to become. And that discovery? It's unsettling. Because your entire life has been built on the belief that you need to keep moving, keep growing, keep striving. But what if you don't? What if the deepest growth happens in the stillness, in the nothing, in the space where the old you dissolves and the real you, the you beyond wanting, finally gets to breathe? There's an ancient story. You've probably heard versions of it. A seeker climbs a mountain. For years, he climbs, through storms, through exhaustion, through doubt, because at the top, he's been told, lives a sage who holds the secret to enlightenment. Finally, after years of effort, he reaches the summit. He finds the sage sitting under a tree, eyes closed, perfectly still. The seeker bows. He asks, Master, I've come for the truth. I've sacrificed everything. Tell me what is the secret to enlightenment. The sage opens his eyes and smiles and says, You climbed the mountain for nothing. The seeker is confused, angry even. For nothing? Then why did I climb at all? And the sage replies, because you needed to discover that there was nothing to find. This is the paradox of the spiritual path. You climb, you seek, you work, you transform. And all of it is necessary, because you have to exhaust the seeker. You have to burn through the illusion that something outside of you can save you. And when you finally reach the top, when you finally awaken, you discover there was never a top, there was never a destination. The mountain was just a mirror, a way for you to realize what you already were. And now? Now you're standing at the summit, and there's nothing to do, nowhere to go, no next level, no higher teaching, just the view, the sky, the stillness. And the mind says, this is it? This is what I worked for? Yes, this is it. Not because it's disappointing, but because it's complete. You see, nature doesn't have motivation. A tree doesn't strive to grow. A river doesn't hustle to reach the ocean. A flower doesn't worry if it's blooming fast enough. They simply are. And in that being, they fulfill their nature effortlessly. You are no different. Your awakening didn't take away your life force. It removed the interference, the resistance, the belief that you need to force yourself to be someone you're not. And now, for the first time, you're free. Free to move or not move. Free to do or not do. Free to want or simply be. The seed that dies in the dark doesn't mourn its shell. It knows this death is the doorway to becoming something greater. You are not losing yourself. You are shedding the false. And in that shedding, something real, something truer than motivation begins to emerge. Not as effort, but as essence. So let me tell you what's really happening. You haven't lost your motivation, you've lost your illusion. The motivation you used to have, it was fear-based, it was survival. It was the ego saying, if I don't achieve, I won't matter. If I don't keep moving, I'll disappear. But you don't believe that anymore. Because awakening showed you, you are not your achievements. You are not your productivity. You are not your output. You are the awareness that was here before any of it. And you'll be here after all of it. So the fear that used to fuel you, it's gone. And without that fear, the old engine doesn't run. But here's the beautiful part. Something else is coming. Something quieter. Something truer. It's not motivation in the way you knew it. It's not hustle or grind or pushing. It's more like gravity. Like a pull from within, not towards something you should do, but towards something you can't not do. Not because you need to prove anything, but because it's your nature, your essence, your gift. This is what spiritual teachers call aligned action. Action that comes not from lack, but from overflow. Not from fear, but from love. Not from seeking, but from expressing. But here's the thing, you can't force it. You can't think your way into it. You can't manufacture it with a vision board or a plan. You have to let it find you, and that requires something you've never been good at. Waiting. Not waiting like procrastination. Not waiting is like avoidance. But waiting like a field in winter. Quiet, still, resting, trusting that when spring comes, the seeds will know when to rise. You are in winter right now. And winter is not a failure. Winter is necessary. It's the time when the roots go deep, when the soil replenishes, when everything invisible does its work. And you can't rush it. You can't force the bloom. You have to trust the cycle. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not failing at life. You are simply resting, recalibrating, becoming. And I know that's hard, because the world tells you to keep moving, to always have a plan, to never stop growing. But the world is still asleep. It's still running on the old program. The program of more, more, more. The program is never enough. But you've woken up, and you can't go back. So yes, you might feel like you have no motivation, but maybe that's not a problem. Maybe that's a signal that you're finally free from the treadmill, finally free from the belief that your worth is tied to your doing. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to not know. You are allowed to sit in silence and let the next chapter write itself. Because here's the truth. You can't lose what's real. If something is meant to come through you, it will. Not because you forced it, but because you got out of the way. And maybe that's what this whole phase is about. Getting out of your own way. Letting life live you instead of you controlling life. In the end, awakening doesn't take anything from you. It just removes the lies. And one of the biggest lies? That you need to constantly be moving towards something to matter. But you've always mattered, not because of what you did, but because of what you are. And what you are can't be motivated. It can't be improved. It can't be optimized. It just is. So if you're sitting in the silence right now, wondering when the fire will return, let me tell you, it will, but it won't look like it used to. It won't be loud. It won't be urgent. It won't be fueled by fear or lack or the need to prove yourself. It'll be quiet. It'll be steady. It'll be the kind of movement that comes from being so full, so aligned, so rooted that you can't help but overflow. And until that moment comes, rest, breathe, trust, because this pause, this stillness, this so-called no motivation, it's not emptiness. It's preparation. It's the universe clearing space for something real. You haven't lost yourself. You found yourself. And now, you're learning how to live from that place, not from ambition, not from fear, but from essence. And that takes time. It takes patience. It takes trust. So, don't rush it. Don't force it. Don't judge yourself for not being where you used to be. You're not supposed to be where you used to be. You're supposed to be here, in the unknown, in the transition, in the tender, fragile space where the old you is dying and the new you is being born. And maybe that's all life ever asked of you, to stop running, to stop striving, to finally come home to yourself. And maybe, just maybe, that's where the real adventure begins. Not in the doing, but in the beginning. Not in the seeking, but in the stillness. Not in what you achieve, but in who you already are.